From the private matches in Modern Warfare 3 to the zombie-infested one in Black Ops 6, Infected has always been my favorite mod, and in today's video I wanted to retrace the history of the mod. But before we dive into that, what is Infected? Infected is a party mode where every player starts the game as a survivor. After a few seconds, one survivor is randomly chosen to become the first infected. Your new goal as an infected is to kill and infect all the remaining survivors, and as a survivor, well, you need to survive until the time limit. Whenever you get killed as a survivor, you join the infected team. Pretty simple, right? Well, let's now go back to 2011 and talk about the first ever Call of Duty Infected in... Started as a private match game mode when the game released, Infected officially released in public games in February 5th, 2012 on console and May 9th on PC. The game will start with 18 players, and after 9 seconds a random player will get chosen to be the first infected. The game will last 5 minutes where the survivor had to survive until the end. As a survivor, you had 5 loadouts given randomly to you. Those loadouts were the Striker, the PP90M1, the Akimbo FMG9, the Type 85, and the Barrett. The first infected will start with the same loadout as the survivor, with one exception being on the Barrett class. The first infected will get an ACR with a silencer and a red dot sight. And once he will get a kill, he will get the USP-45 with the tactical knife and a tactical insertion. The throwing knives were not present during the first few days of the mod in public matches. They then got added and removed shortly after, and then they partially got reintroduced with 3 loadouts having throwing knives and 3 loadouts having the tactical knife only. There was one bonus loadout being Striker versus Jug that was only available on Dome, where the infected will have a Striker, an XM25 as a secondary, and instead of the throwing knife they will get a Semtex. On the other side, the survivors will be Jugs with the .44 Magnum Akimbo. There was another Jug version that got removed, which was Jug versus MK46, where this time the infected will be the Jug players, with this time only a knife, but on the other side the survivor would have an MK46 with an RPG. Another loadout that got removed was the .44 Magnum Akimbo only. As a survivor, you could earn specialist bonus to be able to hide and not be on the radar anymore, because when you will get last, the radar will turn on, giving your location to the infected, but specialist will prevent that. With the success in Infected in private matches before it got introduced in public ones, there was a lot of unfair glitch spots that got removed. The way they removed them was putting some death zones on those locations, meaning that if any survivor tried to go on those locations, they would instantly die and get infected. Those death zones were only introduced in the public matches and do not work in private ones. Those death zones were in Arcaden on this location, and this location, in Baccarat on this location, in Downturn here, also here, in Fallen, in Ardat, also there, on Resistance, and on Underground. On this location, you could prevent getting infected by being on the ladder when the timer would hit 0. The game mode is not available on the Wii version of Modern Warfare 3.
Infected. Stay alive by any means necessary.
The mod came out at the same time as the game came out. This time, you could only get 12 players per lobby on the older consoles, but on the newer console like the PS4 and the Xbox One, you could get 18 of them. This time, you had 15 seconds before the first infection. Instead of the 5-minute timer, the game will start with a 2-minute timer that will go back to 2 minutes every time someone will get infected. When the mod dropped, the survivor only had a Bulldog loadout, which is still the case for the Wii U, but 1 month after, on the 23rd of December 2013, more survivor loadouts were added. So for loadouts, you still had the Bulldog. The MTS-255 got added. You had the PDW, the MSBS, the Lynx, and the Riot Shield. The first infected will not start with the same loadout as the survivor, but with the M9A1 pistol. one exception being with the Riot Shield loadout, where the Infected will get the Bulldog. The Infected loadout were the knife, a throwing knife, and attack insert, except again for the Riot Shield loadout, where they would have a Semtex instead of the throwing knife. The last survivor could technically hide with the Lynx loadout, as you could get the off-the-grid perk. You cannot change the time limits in private games, and on April Fool's Day of 2014, the game mode name got changed to Sickness.
Infected. Survive by any means necessary.
Infected came out in Advanced Warfare at the same time as the game. You still had, like Ghost, 12 players per lobby. The way the timer worked was the same as Ghost, so 2 minutes that will get reset to 2 every time someone will get infected. Same as Ghost, when the mod dropped, you only had a Bulldog loadout. The loadouts then got changed in February 4th, 2015, where the survivor will get a random primary weapon every game. The first Infected did not get a random weapon this time, but will get an RW1. The Infected still had the attack insert, but instead of the throwing knife, they had a spike drone that was considered a bit OP because you could recall it and use it multiple times. There was no specialist or perks, so that meant you could not hide as the last survivor. And little fun fact, Scavenger do not work in private games. Infected came out in Black Ops 3 in March 6, 2018, which was almost 3 years after the game came out. Again, it was still a 12-player lobby instead of 18. Once again, the timer worked the same as Ghost, which is 2 minutes that will get reset to 2 whenever someone will get infected. This time, survivors were able to choose their own loadouts, and if you did not select one of your loadouts before the first Infected got chosen, you'll get spawned with the default Sentinel loadout. Survivor dying will drop their held weapon, so someone else could pick that up. You could use any of the specialists available. The Infected had the Nightbreaker as a melee weapon, a combat axe, and no attack insert this time, but their movement speed was slightly increased. The specialist for the Infected was either the Kinetic Armor, Psychosis, or Active Camo, and it was given randomly to them. The Rogue and Gambler specialists were unavailable, but you could still play their respective character. Scavenger will not resupply any equipment to make it balanced, but you could resupply the launchers. Even though you had a custom loadout, the score streak were obviously disabled. There was no radar for the last survivor, allowing them to hide until the end of the game. The mod was then removed on April 3rd, 2018, but then got added back May 25th, 2018 in a featured playlist, but then got removed again June 1st, 2018. Once again, the mod got added back the 26th of October 2018, but got removed again on November 2nd, 2018. The mod has been gone since then, but you can still technically play Infected in private games of Black Ops 3 if you use a custom workshop mod.
Infected. Survive at all costs.
The mod came out at the same time as the game came out. Once again, you would have 12 players per lobby, but not long after, it was changed to 18 players lobby. You will get 15 seconds until the first infection. At the start of the game, you will get a 2.5 minute timer, and every infection or survivor dying would add 30 seconds to the timer. When the mod dropped, the survivor loadout was only the S-Ravage, which was a shotgun, but the loadouts got updated after to add the FHR-40, the R3K, the TF-141, the RAC-9, the M1, and the Akimbo Hornets. The first Infected will have the same loadout as the Survivor. The Infected had a knife, a throwing knife, and a tactical insertion. Their skin was the Synaptic one, but in red. When the mod dropped, you could dodge getting first infected by waiting before spawning in, but an update that dropped on the 13th of January 2017 removed the ability to dodge getting first infected. Another update that was done on the 2nd of May 2017 changed the M1 loadout for the OSA-1, and on this OSA loadout you had the payload active, meaning that as survivor you will be able to use phase shift, and as infected you will get the Reaper. Every loadout had nuclear that would allow players to call the nuke, which was called the De-Atomizer Strike, and most primary weapon had the hollow point, which was not normally available. The De-Atomizer kills counted towards the next one, so you could chain them. And this time you could not hide as there was no ghost perk. Infected got added in the 29th of May 2018 with the Attack of the Undead community event. You could only be 12 players in the mod. The game will start with 2 minutes and every infection will add 10 seconds to the timer. The default survivor loadout was the combat shotgun and the Type 100. More loadouts got added in July 31st, but this time you can manually choose which loadout you want to equip. It's not randomly given to you. Those new loadouts were the Stinger, the combat shotgun, the STG, and the M1928. The first infected did not get the same loadout as the survivor this time, as they would only get the fire axe and a tactical insertion. They didn't have any throwing knives, but had faster running speed. World War II Infected also introduced care packages that will randomly drop around the map every 30 seconds, where you could get different kill streaks, like the flamethrower, the trip mine, but most importantly, the V2 rocket, which was the nuke of this game. Issue is that the V2 rocket was very easy to get, but it will not count towards the obtention medal, as you had to drop a real V2 rocket to be able to get it. But yeah, almost every match someone will get a V2 rocket out of a care package, so it will make it a bit repetitive and less gratifying to get. As an example, this was my first game,
V2 rocket in! 400 damage!
and my second game,
Launch and capture V2 rocket! Cook those crap!
and my third game.
V2
So yeah, you kinda get the point, it's very easy to get. After the completion of the third tier of the Zombie Killer community event, the infected player had a chance to drop a Tesla gun, which was a zombie wonder weapon, but that got removed later, and the infected player don't drop them anymore.
Infected. Fight off the infected and try to survive.
The game mode got added in April 9th, 2019, which was the mid-chapter of Operation Grand Heist. At first, the mod was a regular infected with 12 players, working the same as the previous infected. You had an 8-second timer before the first infection. The game started with 3 minutes, and each infection would reset the timer to 3 minutes. You had 5 survivor loadouts when the mod dropped, with the Cordite, the Vapor XKG, the Titan, the ABR 223, the Mozu and the MW12, and the Paladin and the MW12. The first infected did not get the same loadout as the survivor, as they would only get the Bowie knife and a tomahawk that could recharge. Around the 14th of June 2019, Infected got removed from the game. For the first time in Infected, Treyarch made a variant of the mod in October 29th, 2019 by adding Infected Final Stand. Instead of working like the regular mod, this time it was a 6v6 with multiple rounds where teams will take turns between the Infected and the survivor sides. At the end of the round, you will switch side, so one round you'll be survivor and the one after that you'll be infected. A full round will last 2.5 minutes. Loadouts were the same as the regular infected. The difference is that infected had a limited amount of lives, so 20, and their goal will be to infect every survivor to win the round. If you died as a survivor, you will die and spectate your team. Survivor will get downed on the first hit, giving them a chance to be revived and keep playing. The survivor had to deplete every infected lives to win the round. The infected only had a tomahawk that could recharge again. They did not have attack insert, so they would always spawn back at their team spawn. This variant of infected was removed on the 5th of November 2019 and will only come back during certain playlist updates. If I understand it correctly, every week or like every few weeks there will be a playlist update putting random mods, so this infected have a chance of being there.
Infected. Survive at all costs.
The mod was added December 10, 2019. This time you had 18 players per lobby. You had 15 seconds before the first infection. The timer will start at 2.5 minutes again. And again, you will get 30 seconds per infection. When the mod came out, you could get multiple loadouts. The AK-47, the Model 680, the R9, the P90, and the AX50. I'm not sure if you could get some loadouts only on certain maps, but every loadout had no attachment. Talking about Anya Palace, this map was on the Infected map pool, even though it was a ground war map, and you could use the ATV to kill Infected, or drive around the map. The first Infected had the same loadout as the survivors. The Infected had a knife, a throwing knife, and a tactical insertion. They also had Dead Silence as a field upgrade. Specialist bonus made a comeback. It was last seen in Ghost, so you will get Specialist after getting 7 kills. Like other Infected, you had to manually spawn in, and if you did not spawn in after the 15 seconds, you would automatically die and get infected. It wasn't stated in the patch notes, but more loadouts got added during Season 2 Reloaded, which was the 25th of February 2020. It also added the ability to use 2 field upgrade, so the deployable cover and the munitions box, when before you could only get the munitions box. This time the loadouts were blueprints, whether they were free ones you will get from the store or paid bundle ones, and you will get a lot of them from most of the weapon category. And the same gun could have different variants. So for example, you could get the same M4 with different attachment. I do not remember exactly how much there was, but I tried to count only on the AR category. And if I'm correct, I remembered between 25 and 30 of those loadouts. So imagine how much more you could get if you counted the SMG, the shotguns, and the other types of loadout. Random care packages were also added back. Again, the way they worked was every 30 seconds, someone got assigned a care package that will drop randomly on the map, and you could get basically every kill streak, but this time the nuke was not in it anymore. For the first time in Infected, the final survivor had a buff, meaning that this time, whenever you will get last survivor, you will get double health or 200 HP, meaning you had to get hit twice, whether with a throwing knife or a knife, before dying, and you could regen your health. So if you got hit once and regen your health, you will need 2 hits to die. Season 2 Reloaded also added the second ever variant of Infected called Giant Infection. The way it worked was the exact same as Infected, but this time on a bigger scale. It will use the ground war maps, and instead of having 18 players per lobby, you had 48. On certain maps, you could use vehicles like the ATV on Anya Palace to run over Infected and kill them. This time, you did not have perks, but kill streak, so you had the Precision Airstrike, the Sentry Gun, and the Juggernaut. More ground war maps got added later, and they also removed the ATV. Also, little information, apparently because it was giving way too much XP, the game mode was removed for a few days before getting added back. The mod will come back later on during playlist update as part of an LTM, but ultimately got removed from the game. A third Infected variant came out not long after, in the 26th of March 2020, which was called Shot in the Dark. Again, it was basically Infected, but this time taking place on night maps. Survivor had an NVG with limited usage, meaning they will be able to use them for 10 seconds before having to pull them away in order for them to recharge. The Infected on the other end had unlimited use. The mod will use realism damage, meaning it was basically one-shot headshot and very low health, and every loadout had a thermal sight. This mod was a good way to hide as there was no radar. This game mode will also come and go during weekly playlist updates. During the Haunting of Verdansk event, the Infected model was changed from the Kruger one to a zombie skin. And also for the first time, you could get a nuke that would end the game with you winning. Around the release of Modern Warfare 2, so around November of 2022, a random update removed some of the maps and broke the loadout system, so it was still made out of blueprints, but this time you would only get shotgun loadouts, so every other category got removed. It's a bit weird and unknown why that happened, but that's how the mod has been since then.
Infected. Fight off the infected and try to survive.
The mod came out in October 19th, 2021, during the Haunting event of Season 6 of Cold War, which was pretty late. You had 18 players per lobby. This time there was 8 seconds before the first Infected will get selected. The game will last 5 whole minutes, and infecting survivors will not give any more time to the timer. You had 5 loadouts that you could choose, so the Bullfrog, the XM4, the M60, the AUG, the M82. Once again, because it's a Black Ops game, the first Infected didn't have a weapon, they just had a melee and a throwing knife. The Infected will not get attack insert, The infected respawn wasn't really instant, you had to wait a few seconds in order to respawn. An update that came out a week later on 26th of October changed the timer at the start to 3 minutes, and every infection will add 10 seconds to the timer. You could not hide as you didn't have any perks. Cold War also added some little music at the start of the round. The infected player was also a zombie skin, and as a zombie you will get a sort of green tint filter, but not long after, infected was already gone because it was part of a weekly playlist rotation, so it will come and go multiple times, and after a while it will come back as a standalone mode, so you can still access the mod to this day.
Infected. One of your own is infected. Your objective is simple. Survive.
Infected came out during Season 2 of Modern Warfare 2, which was on the 15th of February 2023. You once again had 18 players per lobby. This time it was 15 seconds before the first infection, and like some other infected, the game will start at 2.5 minutes, and every infection will add 30 seconds to the timer. During the release, survivors only had one shotgun loadout, which was the Bryson 800, and 2 days later they added more loadouts, which was the Kastov 762, the Expedite, the PDSW, the Signal and Expedite, and the P890 pistol only. None of those loadouts had any attachment. The first infected will have the same loadout as the survivors. The infected will have a throwing knife, attack insert, and once again dead silence as a field upgrade. The last player buff made a comeback, so again they had 200 HP, but it wasn't the same as Modern Warfare, where this time you will need 2 melee hits to kill the survivor, but only one throwing knife will kill them. That partial 200 HP will get removed if another player will join the lobby as a survivor while you were last. You could not hide as last as there was no ghost perks. 2 weeks later, the mod was gone as it was on the featured playlist, but it came back during Season 2 Reloaded, which was a month later, so 15th of March, in a party mode playlist with other mods, which were Gun Game, One in the Chamber, and All or Nothing, and in order to play Infected, you'd have to hope you randomly get the mod while playing that playlist. If I'm correct, there was only 3 loadouts on this version, which was the Kastov, the Expedite, and the PDSW. Giant Infected also made a comeback on May 10th with Season 3 Reloaded, and Season 3 Reloaded also removed the party mode playlist, so Infected at the same time. Giant Infected only had 3 loadouts, which were the Kastov, the PDSW, and the Expedite, and same as its predecessor, you will get 48 players per lobby. This time though, when an infected will use attack insert, they will respawn in the sky and were able to use a parachute to drop down on camping survivors. Infected could resupply their throwing knives, so they had technically an unlimited amount of them. This time, when half the lobby will get infected, the UAV will be on. Giant Infected will get removed on the 24th of May, and approximately a month after, on June 14th, 2023, Infected got added back in the quick play filters. But this time, once again, it had different loadouts, as you only had the Kastov 762 and the Expedite. And on September 13th, while Infected was in the quick play, Modern Warfare 2 had a free access and at the same time a party mode, so you could play regular Infected if you had the game, and at the same time you were able to play party mode, which was the same, but you had the PDSW on this party mode version. On October 17th, during Season 6, the hunting event that lasted 2 weeks, Infected got a new variant, where Infected got given third person. So the survivor will be first person and the infected will be third person. They also had a different zombie skin. Survivor once again had the same 2 loadouts as regular infected, so the Kastov 762 and the Expedite, but overall during Modern Warfare 2 lifecycle, I think there was a combination of 5 different loadouts on the mod, so it was a bit of a mess as the same mod at different time will get different loadouts, once again without attachment or anything. Also, some loadouts were restricted to maps. Maps like Punta Mar, for example, can only get the Kastov, while others like Dome, for example, can get both of them. Care packages were probably planned to come back as you had the option to activate them in private matches, but what will happen is during your private game, those care packages will drop, but you weren't able to interact with them.
Infected. One of your squad is infected. Control the spread.
Infected came out during Season 1, which was the 19th of December 2023, but it came out as an holiday variant, which was called Infectious Holiday, and it came out as a playlist. Basically, it was the exact same of Infected, but you had different skin. As a survivor, you had the Reindeer skin, and as Infected, you had the Klaus Undead Saint skin. You had 18 players per lobby. Again, 15 seconds before the first infection, the game will once again start with 2.5 minutes, and every infection will add 30 seconds to the timer. When the mod dropped, Survivor only had one loadout, that was the Marine SP. The first Infected will get the same loadout as the Survivors, but this time, during Infectious Holiday, Infected will have the knife, the tac insert, but 10 snowballs, and also Dead Silence as a field upgrade. The thing is that the snowballs acted like a throwing knife, so it was a one-hit kill. Also add splash damage, so if the snowball will land, you'll get a bit of damage, plus you will get slowed down, and the Infected had 10 of them. So I'll let you think for a second how OP this was. You could not hide as the radar was on for the last, but you had no ghost perk to prevent that. You also had the same partial 200 HP as Modern Warfare 2, where if you will get knifed, you will not die, but if you will get throwing knife, you will get one tapped. And once again, if someone will join, you will get your 200 HP removed. When the mod dropped, you weren't able to call in your nuke, which was called the MGB. In January 6, Infectious Holiday was removed. Infected will come during Season 1 Reloaded, which was January 17th, 2024, which worked the exact same as Infectious Holiday, but this time without the skins, so you could choose your own operator. You had the same singular shotgun loadout. Infected now had a throwing knife instead of snowballs. The mod was then removed on the 15th of May 2024 to fix a game-breaking bug that will crash the server and every game. The mod was then reintroduced during June 4th. During Season 4, which happened in June 11th, so 6 months after the mod released, there was the first big loadout change. The loadouts were the Haymaker, the Lockwood 680, the WSPU Swarm, the FR 556, the Cat AMR, and the Riot Shield. It took me an embarrassing long amount of time, and also the person that made those changes telling me, to realize that those loadouts were inspired by the Ghost Infected ones. Season 4 also added the DNA bomb to the game, and you were now able to drop them in Infected, but it only worked on PC. After Season 4 was over, the DNA bomb got replaced with the MGB that was also usable now in Infected. Season 5 Reloaded, which happened in August 21st, added a new variant of Infected, which was called Fish Faction. The game started the same, so 2.5 minutes, but this time you would only get 10 seconds per infection, and instead of the other loadouts, you only had one loadout, which was the Torque 33 bow and the spear. Infected had their tac insert removed and had 2 throwing knives. The MGB was disabled in the mod for around a week before getting enabled. The UAV was fully disabled, allowing you to hide, and not long after, because the mod was an LTM, it got removed from the game. Season 6 that happened in September 18th, 2024 gave Infected a second batch of very good loadouts. They all used AMPs, and the loadouts were the Holger 556, the Haymaker, the Kastov LSW, the FGX Horus, and the Longbow. Infected had the same loadout, but this time had 2 throwing knives instead of 1. The partial 200 HP will not get removed anymore when another player will join while you were last. The UAV also stayed disabled for the last survivor, allowing them to hide. The match time will get capped at 5 minutes, but around a week later, the match time cap duration will be increased to 6. During the same update of Season 6, controller players were now able to call in the MGB, and also Fish Faction was added in a party mode playlist on October 17th, but sadly got removed as there was some issue with the Torque 33.
Eliminate the survivors.
The game dropped October 25th and Infected dropped October 29th, so a few days after the game release. This time you had 24 players per lobby. Once again, you had 15 seconds before the first infection. Like its predecessor, the game will start with 2.5 minutes and each infection would add 10 seconds to the timer. The survivor had 3 different loadouts with the PP919, the XM4, and the XMJ. The first Infected doesn't have a weapon, they only start with a melee and a tomahawk. The Infected once again were zombies. They do have attack insert, but this time it works as a field upgrade, so you cannot use them every time you respawn, as the field upgrade have to recharge. A big change of the mod is that NPC zombies spawn continuously during the match. Killing infected player and sometimes survivor dying will make them drop zombie drops. They're able to drop max ammo, full power, and insta-kill. Same as Cold War, you have visual filters, but this time survivor have a green tint, and you have an even bigger filter on the infected vision, which is a bit more bluish. You can hide as there's no UAV, and after less than a month, so on November 14th, the mod was removed with a playlist update. Infected will come back during December 13th in the form of Infectious Holiday. During Infectious Holiday, they also changed the 200 HP to work with 2 combat axes, and Infectious Holiday worked the exact same as Infected. Nothing changed except the fact that now with zombies, you had NPC vermins, and all of the NPC zombies, including the vermins, had a Christmas hat. The Snowball made a comeback, but you could only use them by picking them up on the Nuketown Holiday map, so survivors were also able to use them. Infectious Holiday will get removed January 3rd, and around 2 months later, on March 20, Infected was added back. At the time of recording, since then, nothing changed on BO6 Infected. There could maybe be a loadout change or some small adjustment, which I think will not happen, but if anything gets changed on the mod before the end of its life cycle, I'll make sure to update it in the description. When the mod dropped, you were able to access Infected in private games, but around the time of Season 2, the mod became broken, but since then, at the time of recording, you aren't able to access it. Hey guys, Editing CQ here. First off, I wanted to thank you for staying until the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And I wanted to talk about a few points. First off, I want to apologize again for my English. Some sentence might have been bad, might have been wrong, badly said, might have had some accent problem, some pronunciation problems. I'm very sorry about that. I'm very well aware. And I do apologize. I'm trying my best, to be fair, but I have a lot of trouble speaking. So again, I do apologize, and I hope I'll be able to improve more and more. Second off, I sort of finished the editing of the video, and I'm happy with how it ended up. And I'd love to go for more videos like that in the future. Obviously not big projects like that, because it might not look like it, but it took me weeks in order to do the old video by, doing the research, recording the gameplay, editing, which took a while. So yeah, you'll see more videos like that in the channel in the future. Because I don't want my channel to just be, I get a nuke on stream in Infected, I upload it like that, I want to get like better Infected content, because I'm still going to do Infected content mainly for sure, but I want it to be a bit better than just uploading gameplay and like you get my game that I just got. In my opinion, it could be better. With that being said, obviously I'm still going to upload good games I get, good nukes, good rotation. I don't know if I'll keep uploading very basic, one game nuke, there you go, with better made video on the side, or if I'll try to make them, better. So yeah, we'll still have very basic content, but at the same time, I'll try to do more better Infected content. About BO6 Infected, this is being recorded and the editing of the video was made before the end of the life cycle of BO6. Like right now, at the time of recording, it's less than a month before Season 5. And who knows, maybe Season 5 will do some updates to Infected. But I'll be honest, with the very slim amount of updates in Infected in Black Ops 6, I do not think anything will happen. So that's why I'm dropping the video before the end of the life cycle. Again, if there were to be new content, don't worry, it's, probably in the description. But yeah, the video is already long enough. I won't, yap for too much longer. So thank you for watching the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want more Infected content, like the video, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, take care. Have a great end of your day, night, anything. And I'll see you guys in the next video.